Hey everybody, so this is a review of the Vivo V15 Pro. So this is another one of these mid-tier Chinese phones that punches way above its price range. Now I don't know the official pricing of this phone yet, but I'm guessing it'll be around the 500 to 600 US dollar range. And at that price, this phone is offering a lot. Probably almost as much as what Samsung or Apple expects you to pay $1,200 for. So let's talk specs first. This phone has a 6.4 inch AMOLED display, completely uninterrupted, no notch. The reason for that is because this phone has a pop-up selfie camera. So this is no ordinary selfie camera too. This is a 32 megapixel selfie lens, which is freaking huge. You know, I don't usually like to take selfies, but even I gotta admit, a 32 megapixel selfie camera is pretty damn impressive. You can zoom in really close. This is, I believe, a first in the industry. No other phone right now has a 32 megapixel selfie camera. Now around the back, you have a triple camera setup. The main sensor is a Sony IMX 48 megapixel lens. So this is the same sensor as found in the Honor View 20. And if you remember my review of that, I like that sensor quite a lot. So for the most part, you will be shooting images in 12 megapixel instead of 48. That's because in 12 megapixel, the camera image processing unit uses a process called pixel binning that combines 4 pixels into one, so you get brighter images and more details in your shot. Now if you want to shoot in 48 megapixel, you can. You just get a super large image that allows you to zoom in even more. The second camera I'm actually most excited about, it's an 8 megapixel wide angle lens. So if you're familiar with my work, you know I love wide angle lenses. And previously, only LG phones offer that. Now everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. So 8 megapixel wide angle lens is awesome for shooting landscape. You just get more into the frame. Finally, the third camera, it's a 5 megapixel depth sensor. So it's to take portrait shots, bokeh images, to tell the difference between the depth, the background, and the subject. So the cameras are awesome. I'll get into that later. Let's talk a little bit more about the rest of the hardware. So inside the phone is a Snapdragon 675. This is Qualcomm's relatively new chipset that was developed just for the 48 megapixel lens. You also have a 3700 mAh battery inside. That's a jump from the 3400, I believe, found in the Vivo V11. And you also have an in-display fingerprint reader that's very, very fast and accurate. Vivo pioneered this tech, you know, they were the first ones to do it. And right now, basically, they've perfected it. I'm able to unlock right away. It is almost as good as a traditional hardware fingerprint sensor now, so good job, Vivo. Now, even though this phone looks pretty nice and feels pretty nice, fits in the hand nicely, I'm not a fan of this plasticky back, especially since I've been using phones with a ceramic back, such as the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3 and the Meizu Zero. Now I go back to this plastic back, it feels a little bit cheap. And my biggest gripe with the phone, it charges via micro USB port. Micro USB in 2019. Vivo, I think it's time to move on to USB-C. Now, to be fair, Vivo uses USB-C for its flagship phones, but I think even for mid-tier device now, you gotta jump to USB-C. Micro USB is so outdated. So now looking at software, this phone runs Android 9 with Vivo's software skin on top. Vivo's software skin, I'm not the biggest fan of, but to their credit, they've improved it a lot. I still don't really like the aesthetics. I don't like that there's no app tray and that the app icons are all the same shape in that iPhone icon-like shape. I'd rather have unique icon sizes like I do usually have on all my other phones, but it is what it is. I must give credit to Vivo though, because they've been listening to reviewers' feedback and probably customer feedback. Previously in Vivo devices, you cannot search within settings. So that means if you want to find something in settings, you have to dig through like 15 layers of menu, and it was really damn frustrating. So I'm glad now you can search within settings. So good job, Vivo, for listening to us. And you'll notice that the settings panel, it's completely black. That's because Vivo gives you the option now to go into dark mode. And I'm a fan of that. I just think we should be able to customize our phone the way we see fit. We shouldn't just have a white setting screen. We should be able to go dark if we like. So good job to that too. I also like that you can double tap on the screen to lock and double tap on the screen to wake. This is something that LG pioneered, and I'm glad to see that Vivo has fully adopted. Now, you have an in-display fingerprint reader as mentioned, but this phone also has face unlock, and it's pretty fast, so I'll show you really quick. So just like that, almost as fast as like the Oppo Find X. You just have double tap the screen to lock, swipe up, the camera pops up, scan my face, and locks right away. Now in terms of performance, even though this phone has Snapdragon 675, it's not as good as an 845. It's more than good enough for day-to-day use. I find that I played a lot of games on this. The phone did not heat up. I did not experience any frame rate drops or stuttering or lag. This phone has been performing just fine, even at 6 gigs of RAM, which kind of proves my point that 10 gigs of RAM for the Vivo next dual display is overkill, because you don't need 10 gigs. This phone has 6 gigs of RAM and is running just fine. I'm also really impressed with the battery life. The 3700 mAh battery here, it's definitely more than enough to power the phone all day. So I've been using this phone heavily as my daily driver for 8 days now. Every single day I unplug my phone at like 10 or 11 a.m. Even at the end of the day at like 2 a.m. there's still like 20% battery life. So this battery life will last you all day, which is good news because I really hate that I have to charge one micro USB cable. So now let's talk about the cameras. This is the biggest selling point of the phone and it lives up to the hype. So the camera app, it's a little bit complicated. It's like full of these little buttons that you don't get in other phones, but you do swipe left and right to cycle through modes. You do get these modes that Chinese phones offer, other phones such as iPhones do not, like AR stickers, and a really heavy beauty mode, which I wouldn't recommend using unless you're like a Chinese girl who really likes that stuff. Most people will find it overbearing. Now on top of the shutter button, you have these buttons here for filters, and then also bokeh shot, and then right here, this is the wide angle button. So all you do is press into the white button and you jump straight into the wide angle mode. Now when you go into wide angle mode, you do see that there's a little bit of distortions around the corner, but not too bad. And overall image quality is solid. The wide angle lens isn't as good as an LG V40 or Huawei Mate 20 Pro's wide angle lens, but it's more than good enough. But like I said, the main event here is that 48 megapixel sensor. So usually when you shoot photos, it's at 12 megapixel, which uses a process called pixel binning to bring in more light, more detailed information. But if you want, you can shoot 48 megapixel right here. You go into settings, you just have to tap this button to turn on 48 megapixel lens. And then now when you shoot in 48 megapixel, you can zoom in a lot more because this image is just a lot larger. The main camera is actually really smart when you're shooting in 12 megapixel. So if you look at the scene right here on my viewfinder, all the lights look overexposed, right? But after I take the photo, now look at the shot. Now the lights are no longer overexposed. That's because the phone's image processing unit uses an AI algorithm to basically fix the balance and dynamic range after the fact. So that's quite impressive. Now, that only works in the main 12 megapixel shooting mode. If you switch to a 48 megapixel, then that is no longer the case. Now, when you shoot in 48 megapixel, you have to adjust exposure accordingly because otherwise it will overexpose the lights very easily. So now let's look at some photo samples. In general, you're gonna get really sharp, really vibrant, really punchy images. Look at the colors on the flowers there. It looks great, and there's even a little bit of natural depth of field. This is not a bokeh mode, this is just a normal shot. Turned out very nice. And then right here, it's a normal shot. Now you go to wide angle. You see how much more you get into the frame. You do lose a little bit of detail in the middle, but it's just awesome to be able to get so much more into the picture. Now see, right here, dynamic range is excellent. Check out the clouds in the sky and the sun that's setting, and then right here, even the shaded area, you see good details. This is the neighborhood cat. She hates me. It's a good photo though. Now night shots, same thing. You see, look at how good this image looks. It's really well balanced. Now I forgot to mention, this phone actually has a night mode. It slows down the shutter speed a little bit to take in more light, but really, I don't see much difference. This is a normal image. This is a night shot image. Both shots are very well balanced. Now this is a selfie bokeh shot. Edge detection's on point. Exposure in the back is decent. This is a 32 megapixel camera, so you see, look at how close you can zoom in. You can zoom in all the way to see my skin, which is kind of scary, man. I don't look that good. More selfie cameras. So, if you like taking selfies, you're gonna have zero complaints. I mean, 32 megapixel, man, that's crazy. Check out all the details in my skin. I don't have good skin and it just shows up right here because it's 32 megapixel. So I'm just a huge fan of this camera. Night shots just look so good. Very impressive camera all around. Now we'll check out some videos. This phone can shoot videos up to 4K 30, but unfortunately there is no stabilization when you shoot at 4K 30, but the colors look very good. So you see, look at how much details is in the sky and all the buildings, all the lights are not overexposed. I mean, it is a very jerky video, but can't really complain that much for a phone at this price. Now likewise for the selfie camera. It's a 32 megapixel selfie camera, so you're posing a lot of light. I mean, check out how bright the background is, but it's still perfectly balanced, and my face is pretty clear. Check out the mic.
This is a wider shot. It's almost like a wide angle lens, basically.
Yeah, so the selfie lens is also wider than usual, so which is good. So overall, this is a really good camera, no complaints. Okay, so now check out the speakers. This phone only has a single bottom fine speaker right here, and it's very easy to muffle. You see how one finger just covers all the sound. But overall, speaker quality is decent. It's a little bit flat, but no distortion, at least at max volume. And you can still hear the bass. Okay, I mean, it's not like a great speaker, but it's not bad. And just check out the screen. No notch just looks better, right? That's me on the drums, by the way. So that about covers it for the Vivo V15 Pro. Now, it's tough to give a final recommendation because I don't know how much this phone costs. If this phone sells for $500, then I think it's definitely one of the best deals out there, and you should consider getting it if you're on the market for a phone. If it's $600 or $650, now then this phone has competition, such as the OnePlus 6T, Honor View 20, or even the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3, or even the Vivo Nix Dual Display Edition, which is like $700. But you know, overall, I'm very impressed by the Vivo V15 Pro. Again, I don't like the plastic back and the micro USB port, but if you're okay with that, like if you're gonna put a case on a phone, then it doesn't even matter about the plastic back. What you get an awesome display, awesome in-display fingerprint reader, awesome camera, and you get a headphone jack too, and all-day battery life. So this is a great phone. So that's it for now. This is my last day in Hong Kong. I'm flying to LA tomorrow to visit family, and I'm going to Spain for the Mobile World Congress. So thanks for watching.